It's a brand new week to discuss some of the big stories happening around the country. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi and you're welcome to the show.
And I'm Benga Aburo. Welcome to a brand new week, and I'm excited. The Super Eagles of Nigeria against all odds won in Rwanda. So maybe our World Cup qualification is back on track. I mean, who wants to miss a World Cup in Canada, Mexico, and the United States? 3 countries will be hosting the World Cup in 2027, and the Super Eagles are back on track thanks to our new manager and of course Victor Osimhen. But let's leave football.
We have another match, right, on Tuesday, I believe.
Yes, against Zimbabwe, and of course
exactly.
It's a foregone conclusion. Well, they're playing at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo, and what do you expect?
Since we are playing at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium,
we always win there.
Has been in the news for not the best reasons. Do you think that will impact our chances?
No, I hope not. I hope we win. We need all 3 points. I'm Benga Aburo. We have a lot in store for you today on Breakfast Central. So sit back, grab your coffee, relax, and best way to start your day. Let's start up with our wake-up conversations. And, you know, the conversation in Rivers doesn't seem to end. It's been ongoing for several weeks now. But, you know, people have been speaking about a state of emergency, the gladiators involved, and different elements. Human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju had quite a lot to say about the situation in Rivers State, especially with one of the gladiators. Let's watch this video and get back to you.
His friend is his stomach. His friend is his stomach and his interest. Wike betrayed the first man that brought him to politics. First man that brought him to politics. Wike betrayed Odili. Odili, remember he said that if he ever make Odili cry, any day he make Odili cry, may not be well with him, may not be really. Wike is still eating food and acting normal. Wike betrayed Rotimi Amechi. Is it Tinubu, ordinary Tinubu that Wike just met on the street the day before yesterday, that he will not betray? So there's nothing that he's doing now. All this whoa that he's shouting, he's still going to betray you. And any man that when you discuss with him, have one-on-one discussion with him, and he comes forward later to come and say it and be mocking people. You know, he was saying it in that interview, mocking people that he has had personal conversation with. He's also going to do it to those people who are his friends, the judges, the Tinubu and others. There was a judge, the chief judge of Rivers State. You saw what Wike did to him. Wike, there's an old video of Wike praising the man, saying he has never seen somebody with integrity like that man. A few days ago, in that interview, he said that the man is the most useless man in this world, that he has never seen somebody more useless than the man. That the man is very corrupt. All because he has changed his position about that man. All of a sudden, because there's something he wants the man to do now that maybe the man is not agreeing to do. So that's yes and Wike for you. God forbid, God forbid, God forbid 3 times. If peradventure anything were if there was even any suspicion of anything happened to President Tinubu, God forbid 3 times again, Wike will be the first person to switch allegiance to Kashim Shettima. In fact, he will do anything in this war, including licking Kashim Shettima's leg, just for power. Wike will do anything. And he's the most ambitious person you can ever see in this life. He's always plotting. He's always plotting. He's never satisfied. This minister that you see him holding, he sees it as if it's houseboy job. Wike will always be plotting to be president. He's my former friend. I know him very well. Even him, he can confirm.
It's quite revealing.
I don't know how I feel about that. But, of course, Deji Adeyanju has a right to express what he feels about this. I think what the most interesting part was, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid.
3 times. You have to say 3 times.
To be precise. But, yes, everyone's sharing their thoughts regarding this. And he's spoken so strongly against Nyesom Wike. He's not the only person who has condemned Nyesom Wike. The general sentiment we've seen expressed is the fact that Nyesom Wike did not seem to have been sanctioned in any shape or form by the president, especially because he was a key player in the Rivers issues or the Rivers State drama. And it just felt like the governor was the only one that had to bear the brunt of all that happened. The governor, the House of Assembly members, and unfortunately, they say had no they touch Nyesom Wike. But the suspension of the governor was not just criticized in this case by him. There have been other people who have spoken against it. For example, we have former president of the country, Goodluck Jonathan, who spoke against it because in his time, he invoked the state of emergency, but did not suspend the governors of the 3 states where he invoked the state of emergency. So he basically spoke against it, and especially as to what impression it's giving regarding the international community, what picture it's painting of Nigeria. Nobel Laureate Wole Soyinka also spoke against it. So many people are speaking against it, but speaking against it, you don't know what effect it will have, seeing as our lawmakers have ratified this.
I mean, just looking at Deji Adeyanju's conversation and what he was saying about the FCT minister, I was almost tempted to say, you know, it's all politicians that act this way, but I've met politicians with integrity, and the level of catalogue of Wike's betrayal that he listed out is quite enormous, and I don't think it applies to all politicians. But, you know, you always have to look after your interests. Being ambitious is not bad in itself, but not keeping to deals and, you know, not being principled is what the problem is. But we wait and see. And like they said, the drama is never ending in Rivers State. Yeah.
All right, let's move away from Rivers State to a conversation that has become some sort of an international conversation. Young content creator Alma Asinobi attempted to break the Guinness World Record by taking the Nigerian passport to 7 continents around the world with a time frame of 60 hours. Now, unfortunately, Alma could not reach this target because of certain setbacks, visa issues. At some point, she was not able to board the plane, I think, in Australia because of these issues. We have some of the tweets that she's shared regarding this and the journey that has led her to where she is. And in this tweet, she documented her journey, carrying Nigerians along as to where she was and, you know, what she attempted to gain. Initially, she was set to do about, I think, 70 hours, I believe. But then she realized that somebody else had broken the record and brought it down to 63 hours. So she had to readjust her time frame to 60 hours. Unfortunately, again, another stern reminder about the Nigerian passport, the strength or lack of it, of the Nigerian passport. It's an experience that a number of us have had, where you're on the queue in the airport, they see your green passport, and then they'll tell you, please step aside, because they need to investigate something about your passport. And it's just sad.
Really quite sad. And this is not a problem with the Nigerian government, because the politicians and the government are the convenient boogeymen. Every problem with Nigeria starts and ends with them. We always throw everything at them. This is a general problem on how we carry ourselves and behave when we're outside the country, how we behave and carry ourselves outside the country. Quite a number of Nigerians go to India, Cambodia, Indonesia. They're languishing in jails. They don't behave. They don't obey local laws. They involve themselves in all sorts of illicit activities. But that's not saying that the entire country should be painted with the same brush. But unfortunately, these immigration officials tend to judge us that way. I remember when I was in university, I traveled a lot, and going back to school, I would be, most people are there when they have what's it called? The time you spend between boarding your flight and...
right, is it the layover?
Yeah, your layover. They use it to do duty-free shopping, eating, and all of that. Most of the time, I'm using my layover time to explain, these are the modules I'm taking this semester. I'm proving that I'm actually a student that is traveling back to school, which is very, very unfortunate.
It's really unfortunate, and this is the reality of a number of Nigerians. She sparked a conversation on her social media page, asking people to document their experience traveling with the Nigerian passport. And giant of Africa that we are and all, we cannot ignore the fact that it is still a hurdle. It's why people are still doing everything that they can to try to get a second passport, so they're not waiting in queues, they're not being double-checked. At some point, I think she missed her flight to Australia because she had to, this was her in Antarctica, And she missed her flight to Australia because they had to verify the authenticity of her visa.
Wow.
Make it make sense. Let's take a look at this video.
7 continents in 70 hours with my Nigerian passport. I'm Alma Asinobi, I'm Nigerian, and I've traveled to over 30 countries across 5 continents, showing thousands of people how to travel the world regardless of the color of their passport. But now, I'm about to take it a step further and do something that's never been done with a Nigerian passport. In just a few days, I'll be attempting to break the Guinness World Record for the fastest time to visit all 7 continents. Yep, that's right. From the chilly remote corners of Antarctica all the way to Australia, stepping foot on every single continent in between. For years, I've traveled the world with one of the lowest ranking passports. I've seen beautiful places, but at what cost? Almost every trip has been a battle, a fight, a new mission. I faced visa rejections, waited weeks without my travel document, thousands of dollars spent on applications. But in all of these, I've continued chasing after the life I want. Because my dreams will not be limited by the color of my skin or the color of my passport.
Prepare for departure, cross-check.
For this record, the rules are strict.
Right, there you have it. Alma Asinobi sharing with us her journey and her desire to break the Guinness World Record. And, you know, from that story, it reminded me of Martin Luther when he said, I have a dream that one day my children will no longer be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And here in Nigeria, we have a dream that one day Nigerians will no longer be judged, but not just by the color of our skin, but also by the color, the greenness of our passports.
You know, there's so many multiple layers. And congratulations to Alma in the first place for even attempting this. She made it to Greenland and a few places. Congratulations. You do better.
She made it to all 7 continents. Let's mention that.
Time.
Yes, she made it to all 7 continents. So congratulations to her for not throwing in the towel and saying, you know what, all these hurdles should stop me from being able to complete this. She completed this challenge, and also congratulations to Alma.
It will take quite a lot of determination because the paperwork you have to do, and then the visa fees. We also need to have a conversation about that. If you're going to reject my visa,
return my
please
money.
Return my money.
Exactly.
The United States is talking about Guinness Book of Records. The United States is building its biggest ever consulate in Lagos, Eko Atlantic, as we speak. Which money do you think they're using to build that consulate? Of course, it's rejected visa fees and all of that. It's really, really sad and unfortunate. We should have that conversation about this is what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be discussing, and we should reciprocate. If you're going to reject X number of visas to Nigerians trying to travel, then, I mean, eye for an eye.
Well,
it's only fair.
It might be good news to announce that Nigeria has ranked up or has taken one step further. We're ranked 91st, I believe, on the passport, the Henley Passport Index. We're ranked alongside Ethiopia and Myanmar, so I don't know what this will mean.
So right now, what it means is that you can travel to Eritrea or Djibouti visa-free. So you might put that on your travel itinerary.
Kudos to all the Nigerians who are constantly helping us to, you know, redefine what traveling means and continue to inspire us. And once again, from all of us here in Breakfast Central, we say well done and congratulations, Alma Asinobi. We hope that she can maybe retry this attempt and break it. But even if she never does, you know, attempts to retry it, she's done great. She's taken our passport to all the 7 continents in the world. Now let's come back home to Lagos. Lagos has been in the news recently, especially because the NYC core member had put us on blast saying that the state was smelling. She eventually had to retract that statement and apologized because of how the indigenes of the state had taken this. They didn't take it quite lightly. But Lagos seems to reject it. You know, they've rejected the smelling claims and has affirmed a clean city, sharing what Lagos is doing to ensure that the city is actually a clean mega city, living up to its name. Right. Well, maybe you share with us what your thoughts are regarding Lagos. And they've shared projects and...
Yes, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources in Lagos State, has been doing quite a good job in sensitizing, and, you know, he's very active on social media, showing videos of defaulters. And they came up with this report. I think it's a 6-page report on ongoing efforts to make Lagos cleaner and also greener. You can see that on your screen, but people are still saying, look, my reality, you can do all of this, but my reality is different.
Lagos is not smelling, he says.
Lagos that are smelling. We know you're making efforts, but it doesn't stop the reality. And what you need to focus on is doing a holistic job at cleaning it and making examples out of people. You need mobile courts. You need serious enforcement, because quite frankly, a lot of people do these things because they feel there are no consequences.
I don't know if you saw the video of the young man who was peeing on the road, and then there was a truck with water that decided to give him a proper bath, seeing as he's a dirty
that's
pig.
Good.
So people were saying, no, we need this in Lagos. We need to see situations where people are thoroughly made an example of on the spot. People who throw plastic out of the window whilst driving, you know, people who throw trash in the gutters whilst the rain is falling. All these people need to be made examples of.
Citizens should also do their own part in shaming and naming these people that are trashing and doing things to destroy the environment. Because I do, for example, if you jump the queue and come to my front saying, oh, you are rushing, please, I can never, that is one of my pet peeves.
What if the person is in labor?
I would understand. But I mean, we also need, it's a collective effort.
All right, these are the conversations that we have this morning. Speaking about smelling Lagos, maybe tomorrow we'll revisit the conversation about landlords, and not just the exorbitant rents, but those on the island that have to live with dirty water. A young man has been calling out his estate. He's said he's given them a deadline and said if they don't respond and fix the water situation, that he's going to name the estate. And maybe we should so start naming and shaming the number of these estates.
He did update, and they restored the brown water a few hours later because of that threat. Imagine what he's going through at that level.
Pay millions of naira.
At that social level.
It's really sad. But this is the reality of a number of people here in Lagos, and our voice or our responsibility is to amplify the voices of the citizens. We'll be sharing some of the big stories on the front pages of the newspapers this morning, but let's share with you what our top stories today are on Breakfast Central. Suspended Rivers governor makes first appearance. Governor Siminalayi Fubara was seen worshipping in Salvation Army Ministries. Explosion reportedly rocks NLNG facility in Rivers State. We'll be looking at what this means and the details. And also, Nigeria's inflation may drop to 15% by late 2025, experts say. Pengassan raises alarm, accuses Sterling Oil of breaches. These are some of the stories we're looking at, even as we review the newspaper front pages this morning. Join us for all these and more on Breakfast Central.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Borowa. We begin the news in West Africa, Nigeria, where bandits ambushed a group of Zamfara State Community Protection Guard, CPG, known as Askarawa, and local vigilantes in Anka local government area, killing 6 guards and 4 vigilantes. The operatives had just returned from a successful operation led by the Nigerian army, which resulted in the death of several bandits. As they headed back, they were ambushed near Bagega, leading to the devastating loss of 10 lives. Governor Dauda Lawal confirmed the incident, noting that 3 others remain missing, including 2 CPG members and 1 vigilante. Authorities are investigating, and efforts are underway to locate the missing individuals. Let's also tell you that the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has issued a stern warning to officers against illegal detention, emphasizing that there will be serious consequences for such actions. In a statement released by the force spokesman Muyiwa Adejobi, the IGP referenced Section 34 and 35 of the Nigerian Constitution, which safeguards personal liberty and dignity. He cautioned that unlawful or prolonged detentions could erode public trust in the police, and officers found guilty would face strict penalties. The Inspector General of Police called for accountability within the force and urged officers to uphold the highest standards of conduct. The police leadership reaffirmed its commitment to human rights and building stronger community relations through integrity and respect for the law. And let's also tell you that that reports confirm that there's been an explosion on the right-of-way of one of the pipelines of the Soku oil facility in Akuru-Toru local government area of Rivers State, set to be operated by the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNG. According to locals in the area, an explosion accompanied by fireballs was heard and seen in the sky from the facility area, which is hard to reach, and the fire may still be burning as at the time of this report. While the cause of the explosion is not yet known, the leadership of the Soko Kingdom, through its General Secretary, Witness Alasia, in a statement affirmed that the Soko gas plant was not impacted and is still operational. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Benga Aboroa.
President Bola Tinubu's 6-month emergency rule in Rivers State, suspending Governor Siminalayi Fubara and state lawmakers, has drawn sharp criticism. While the National Assembly supports it, Nobel Laureate Professor Wole Soyinka described the action as excessive, asserting that it contradicts the spirit of federalism. Similarly, former President Goodluck Jonathan has criticized the recent declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, describing it as a clear abuse of office and power by the executive, legislature and judiciary.
Meanwhile, many notable Nigerians continue to condemn the role of the former governor of Rivers State, now the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, has played in the political crisis in Rivers State. Human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju, while speaking on the issue, accused the FCT Minister Wike of repeated betrayals. Adeyanju alleged that Wike's political maneuvers are primarily driven by personal interests, leading to the betrayal of key political figures, including former President Goodluck Jonathan and former Rivers governors Peter Odili and Rotimi Amechi.
Now joining us this morning is human rights activist Ann-Kio Briggs. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us, ma'am.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan did say that he initially didn't want to speak about this, and but it was imperative that he spoke about it because a number of people in Rivers State were looking up to him to share his thoughts. Let's get your thoughts on his position and what he has said about the situation in Rivers State.
Definitely, he has put it in a perspective that can be understood even by a primary school student, where he said very clearly that you cannot wake up somebody who is pretending to be asleep. Now, that surely means that this thing has dragged on for too long. And from the moment it started, we, the Rivers State Elders and Leaders Forum, called on him, not because we think only him can solve the problem, but because he's the president of Nigeria. It doesn't have to do whether he's APC or PDP. And because we of Rivers State know very, very clearly what our state is, what the people want, and what this can lead to in Nigeria, we've been saying that if this is allowed to deteriorate, that it will affect not only Rivers State, it will affect the whole of the Niger Delta. And this is not a threat, it's a fact when we say that anything that affects Rivers State negatively will affect Nigeria economically, simply because Rivers State is one of the states that is holding up Nigeria economically, whether they want to admit it or they don't want to admit it. Therefore, to find ourselves in this situation for over 1 year, where the president is constantly imposing positions that he would never have accepted as the governor of Lagos State, because Obasanjo tried to do it to him, did do it to him, and he expects Siminalayi Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, to accept it. And he expects the people of Rivers State to accept it. He, the president, was voted for just the same way the governor of Rivers State was voted for. Now, looking at the legalities lawyers are talking, people who understand the Constitution, people who understand the laws of Nigeria are saying that it is the wrong action for the president to have taken after Pandef had gone to meet him. He sat down with Pandef and listened to what Pandef had to say. With so many other positions that was given to him, I was one of the delegates in that meeting, and some other Rivers indigents that are so-called supporting the FCT minister. I see no reason why he needs support. He's not the governor of Rivers State. He's a minister. Now, his supporters also were invited. They refused to attend that meeting with the president. And after the meeting, the president proceeded within a couple of days. And I noticed during that meeting that something was seriously amiss. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I noticed it. And immediately after the meeting, within 5 days, the governor of Rivers State, the deputy governor of Rivers State, and the issue of the lawmakers that the Supreme Court went into when they had no business discussing it, had already been suspended. Now, people are saying, people who understand the law are saying that it is illegal, it is unconstitutional, and that actually the law, there is no part of the Constitution that recognizes the imposition of the person that they have imposed on the people of Rivers State while they have suspended the governor of Rivers State. Now, I want to caution, because this is a rumor, and where there is rumor, there is something. This is a rumor that the sole administrator, so-called, is planning to appoint sole local government chairman. There is no way, any way he has a right to appoint anybody or anything in that local government. Money has been released to him. We even want to know how the money was released to him without going to court, and why the money was released to him, and how much, in fact, was released to him. It's our money.
Thank you very much.
We have a right to know.
Like you rightly said, madam, it's still a rumor at this point, and there's nowhere in the Constitution where the sole administrator will have the power to appoint local government chairman. But you said many things, many very poignant things in your submission. You said Rivers State is holding up Nigeria economically, which is a fact. And the presidency has argued that as a doctrine of necessity, they could not treat a Rivers State like the other states in the northwest and northwest that have witnessed Boko Haram attacks and banditry, because there are economic angles to this. So therefore, as the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, he couldn't just sit idly by. He has intelligence reports we're not privy to, and allowed the situation to descend into chaos. That's why he took that anticipatory step to forestall a breakdown of law and order by imposing a state of emergency. What do you make of the presidency's submission using that as an argument? What other options could the president have taken?
First of all, I mean, the president should contain himself within the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, full stop. There is no empowerment that allows him to step outside of the 1999 Constitution. He's not a military ruler. So you cannot set aside the Constitution, which is a working document, whether some of us want a new Constitution or not. That's a discussion for another time. But the issue of doctrine of necessity. Look, what is the meaning of during Jonathan's time? There is nothing like doctrine of necessity when there is clarity within the Constitution as to what ought to be done in any situation, whether it was in Jonathan's time, when it's very clear that if a president is incapacitated or resigns or is not capable anymore of governing, then his deputy takes over. Now, that doctrine of necessity was not necessary. That doctrine of necessity is not necessary today. And that is why the deputy governor was illegally suspended with the governor. Because if, let us say, the governor of Rivers State travels out for a period of 1 month, he has to hand over by law to his deputy with instructions on what to do. Now, you cannot say that you are also suspending the deputy governor. You're now taking away the guarantee for Rivers people by the Constitution that if the governor is not there, the deputy will take over the affairs of the state by suspending the deputy governor. You have also taken away the rights of Rivers people to be governed at every time by the people that they have elected. We have not elected a sole administrator. Now, the president, if anything happens for any reason and he's going away for 2 months, will he take the vice president along with him so that Akpabio, the president of Senate, can now become a sole administrator, or that then Akpabio can appoint a sole administrator from Akwa Ibom, for instance? No. It is being shown over and over again that the president was wrong in the way that he began right from the moment to treat the issue of Rivers State. The key player in this issue is the Federal Capital Territory Minister. He is not the governor of Rivers State. We cannot have two governors in Rivers State. And when I hear they had an agreement, for crying out loud, you have no right. There is nowhere in the Constitution of Nigeria where it says that an outgoing governor will appoint another governor, and in the method or governance of that state, he wants to be a third-term governor of Rivers State. The Constitution does not allow for it. And in any case, both himself and the constitutionally elected and democratically elected governor of Rivers State should now tell us what agreement the former governor mean by they had an agreement. What agreement did they have? To sell Rivers State? There is no, look, all this is about is the money of Rivers State people. And the time has come for Rivers State people to say, our money cannot continue to fly out of the state, given to people who have crisis. If there is a flood in another state, Rivers State money must be in there. Are we a charity? We're not a charity. Must we support every governor, every president with our money? No. If you want to run for presidency, you bring out your own money and do what you want with it. Why must Rivers State hold up the whole of Nigeria constantly? Is that what God created us for?
Seeing as you've brought in Nyesom Wike into the conversation, let's stay there for a bit. There are many people who have criticized the manner in which the former governor was handled, the manner in which the FCT minister was handled. What do you think should have been done to Nyesom Wike in all of this? He should have been suspended at the very least, along with the people that he claims that he's fighting. Don't forget that if you recall the media interaction that the former governor of Rivers State had with the media after Pandef had left the meeting, he insulted Pandef along with what the president did to us by keeping us waiting for almost 2 hours. He insulted Pandef, which included people like Deji Adeyanju, people who were governor when he was a primary school teacher a primary school student. I mean, he attacked a whole ethnic nationality. That's hate speech. That is hate speech. That who are we? Who are the Jaws? What is the meaning of our language? What is the meaning of Asawana? And the president
is allowing all these things to go on. This was what happened in Rwanda, where a people were constantly being barraged and undermined and dismined, if you like, by another section, a particular voice, until the people were attacked. And if the president does not recognize this as something that he has to cut off, look, if you have employed somebody in your TV station, and every time the person is on duty, your system is sabotaged constantly, you will still keep that person on and say, oh, he's a good person. What is this? What have we done?
At what point do you think that?
I mean, the whole of Rivers people. Let me make it clear again. This is not an ethnic issue in Rivers State. It's not an ethnic issue in Rivers State at all. All ethnic nationalities are in support of the governor of Rivers State. It is the FCT minister that is bringing in and insisting that he must bring in the issue of ethnic nationality.
All right, I just wanted to quickly chip in.
People of,
and I'm glad that you've explained the ethnic angle to it and how it really isn't an ethnic issue. But I want to quickly go back to what you said earlier, that at the very least, the FCT minister should have been suspended alongside other people. Now, some people have argued that he should have been suspended much earlier before this. Do you share same sentiments?
Yes, as a matter of fact, not only should he have been suspended, the president, if he really has the interest of Nigeria and the interest of his own office and the interest of the economy of Nigeria, anybody that stands in the way, anybody that will generate their personal interest to the point where it becomes a problem for the president. And the president is now seemingly to us in the Niger Delta a participant in the crisis that is going on in Rivers State and in the crisis that it is seemingly now generating in the Niger Delta. Because if you now see, it's not only Rivers people that are condemning, people that have nothing to do with Rivers State, lawyers, eminent leaders, yes, people like Wole Soyinka, who even are supporters of the president, are saying that the president was wrong. If everybody says that you are wrong, why do you think you're right?
Now, Madam, looking at the current state of things, the sole administrator, Vice Admiral retired Ibas, has resumed office. He did have a sort of short interaction with the media a few days ago. He visited the complex, the ongoing construction of the State House of Assembly. And if you do recall, the National Assembly, while declaring the state of its support for the state of emergency, which it has through a voice vote, said a panel will be instituted. They suggested having a panel of eminent citizens of River State, and I believe you will be part of that panel. Do you think in 6 months' time, given this panel and everything that is happening with the appointment of the sole administrator, peace between the warring gladiators, Fubara, the Amewule camp, and the FCT minister, this crisis would have been resolved? Because this issue is basically among the three of them, and like you rightly said, have nothing to do with the ethnic nationalities in River State.
Let me say this. The body language of the sole administrator that has been appointed in such a manner that everybody is saying it is wrong. If you look at the way that it was approved, if you look at what the National Assembly did, if you look at people like Tamboa, so many people are saying that they didn't have a quorum. So basically, it is right to say that the sole administrator is illegal. He is not known to law. That is one. His body language is telling us, I'm a Rivers daughter. His body language is telling me that he believes that he has come to stay for 6 months and that he is actually the governor of Rivers State. He's not the governor of Rivers State. We did not appoint him. We did not vote for him. He's not the governor of Rivers State. Now, having said all those things, I don't really understand what the sole administrator is trying to do, or the National Assembly is actually trying to do, apart from they think that they can extend these 6 months. Because in the speech of the president, it was alluded that this is just like, let us see how it goes in 6 months. That's the underpinning understanding that I have. So therefore, maybe if it gets to 6 months and the president, for some reason, is not satisfied, he can now, doctrine of what necessity. There was no crisis. There was no crisis. There has been no crisis in Rivers State, except the time in October 2023 that they tried to impeach the governor, Fubara. Now, the president also said that the governor that had the state assembly, and that he's doing nothing to rebuild it. I mean, with all due respect, that is so untrue. That is so untrue, because the sole administrator took a tour of what Siminalayi Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, is building to replace what was brought down for the reasons that it was brought down. And already it is 80% finished. When the sole administrator was there, he alluded to the fact that within, by the time it's 6 months, this will be finished, and that they can go back to work. Well, they cannot. He cannot make such a promise because they are under suspension. So you can't. If he's saying that, then why is he not also saying it to the governor and the deputy governor? That within that
but the
space
Senate
of time,
President,
that it is likely
the Senate President did say,
to work.
The Senate President did say when the National Assembly came out of a closed session that this state of emergency will not exceed 6 months. Senate President Godswill Okpabio. Does that give you any sort of assurance?
No, it does not, because even Okpabio is another player in what is going on in his actions of what is going on in Rivers State. He was determined to approve the state of emergency and the suspension of the governor and deputy governor and for now the speakers, the members of the state assembly. Now, if he is so involved and he did what no voice, there was no provision for voice, yea or no. We need to know who voted, who didn't vote, who was there, who was not there. Other senators are saying that the way it was done is wrong. So whatever the Senate President did and is saying about what happened in Rivers State, it is illegal, just as well as the action of the president has a constitutional right in the provision of Section 305. But the reasons where that can happen were not met. There was no crisis in Rivers State. The Rivers State is peaceful, is quiet, people have been paid, nobody is being owed money, civil servants have been promoted. You cannot say that a state like Rivers State is in crisis. Even the owners of the so-called pipeline that was used in the governor's in the president's speech, the owners of the pipeline are saying that nothing like that happened to their pipeline. So if that is the case, where is the crisis that the president is referencing that made him to make that decision? Why did he not tell Pandes, who were seeking peace and reconciliation between the governor and the FCT minister? Why did he not tell us on the 11th of March, when we met with him, that he is in the process of making up his mind to do something drastic, as he did earlier on, by giving 2 pieces of paper to the governor of Rivers State to sign? We object to that 2 pieces of papers, as well as we're still objecting to that. And we're saying that there must be a review, there should be a review as soon as possible, because the crisis is not abating. Just because the governor of Rivers State has been suspended, and the deputy governor and the state assembly members, all the three, all the arms of government, if you like, has been suspended, and you brought a military man to come and militarize Rivers State in a time of peace in Rivers State and in Nigeria. This is a democratic, at least this is a democratic dispensation according to the president, who claims to have fought for democracy. Now, I am asking the president, is this the style of democracy that he actually fought for and left Nigeria for on exile? Is this the democracy he fought for? If this is the democracy he claims to have fought for, it is the wrong type of democracy, and we don't want this type of democracy in Rivers State. We want true democracy where we have voted for someone, two people, a governor and his deputy.
All right.
And where we are
let's talk about the pipeline explosion.
And
let's just quickly touch on the pipeline explosion. There's been another one at Soku oil facility operated by the NLNG. We don't have full information as to what might have caused this explosion and if it's linked to the current political crisis that is happening in Rivers State. Do you have concerns about pipeline explosion? Do you have concerns about the security in Rivers State? And do you think this may be linked to what's going on in Rivers State?
I started my journey in issues of equity and justice in 1998 in Niger Delta, for the people of Niger Delta, for justice and equity. Now, I have always been concerned about pipeline blowups. I've always been concerned about the environment, and I should be, because I am a victim of the repercussion, the health repercussion of the devastation of the Niger Delta region by the oil companies. So yes, I am concerned. Now, the owners of this facility should come out and tell the people of Nigeria exactly what happened, what was done. Because saying that there is a pipeline has been blown up and that it is associated to the crisis of Rivers State is unacceptable to the people of Rivers State. And we should not accept such narratives. I do not accept the narrative. I condemn that narrative. If truly pipeline has been blown up, we should hear what happened, where it was blown up, when it was blown up. We're hearing Isoku, how was it blown up? We should have information. But to sit down for people in government, to sit down in Abuja and now say that this is linked to Rivers State is opening up, is calling a dog a bad name to hang that dog. Because already the Attorney General of Nigeria has recklessly accused a governor, a sitting governor of a state, that he is directly teleguiding explosions in Niger Delta, as a matter of fact, because it's not only in Rivers State. Now, if that is the position of this government, then we totally, not only do we disagree, we do not accept it, and I think it is oppressive to put that responsibility on the people and the government of Rivers State, that any pipelines have been blown up for over close to 30 years now. So to say that Fubara, who has been a governor for only 2 years, is now responsible for what is happening is unacceptable to anybody in Rivers State. They should go and do investigation and come and tell us how the pipeline was blown up.
Finally, madam, before we let you go, because we'll be doing yours.
God has settled it. What God has settled, how can I, mere mortals,
like us, to
be contributing to it? God has already settled it. We move now. It reminded me of a Christian song that says, "Forever, oh God, your word is settled in heaven, it is settled." It's also settled in Rivers State.
It is settled. So many, I did enjoy that conversation with Madam Ann-Kio Briggs, and she raised many pertinent issues. She said, look, Rivers is not in crisis. For you to say something is in a crisis situation, it needs to check A, B, C. So it's almost like a mixture, a cocktail of illegalities. First and foremost, the president overstretched the Section 385, which did not give express provisions for suspension of a governor. And then the National Assembly went through the drama of a voice vote, like we're in a village square, you know, shouting yay or nay for such a critical national issue. People want transparency. They want to. I want to know if my representative
voted in support
yes or no.
against.
So I'll know if I'll vote him in the next election. And
if you're going to vote,
address my
exactly, if you're going to vote yes with your full chest.
How do you pick up the voice of your representatives in a sea of yay? Even if it's your husband, you cannot identify his
exactly.
voice. When there's
that shouldn't have been a voice vote, especially because, again, the lawmakers should realize that their integrity has been on the line. In the most recent case with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, they are claimed that they're trying her because of her refusal to change seats, but she has a sexual allegation claim, and she's taking it to different international media. So if you realize that your reputation is on the line, the one thing you don't want to do is tread carelessly. You want to tread with caution and make Nigerians see that you have no skeleton in your cupboard. If this is a situation that has generated a lot of uproar, the very least they could have done was ensure that the voting wasn't done in a way that Nigerians cannot say for certain.
The legislature is called the House of Laws. They make laws. Just follow your simple laws. Like you said, knowing the sort of trust deficit they have with the people and their reputational situation, you would expect them to act in accordance with their constitution and the rule book. So for you to go ahead to take a voice vote for such a critical matter is violating your own laws, which is very unfortunate, and it sends a wrong signal about the state of our democracy in Nigeria.
Right. I mean, again, we wish the people of Rivers State all the best. We can understand their argument about what really constitutes a crisis, what constitutes a breakdown of law and order in the state for you to determine a state of emergency. In the northeastern part of Nigeria, people are being killed. You know, reports have it that bandits killed 6 community guards and 4 vigilante men in Zamfara. Every other day, in fact, we don't even talk about it as much anymore because we've become desensitized to it. But every day, somebody is being killed in northeastern Nigeria. At this point, shouldn't a state of emergency have been called because of this? President Goodluck Jonathan declared a state of emergency because of insecurity, but we haven't seen that happen here. Is it that we're not prioritizing the security of Nigerians for this not to have happened? These are some of the arguments that we are seeing, and you know the positions that people have held regarding the state of emergency in Rivers State. But ultimately, regardless of the politics and the politicking, we just want a government where people have peace, where democracy, just like Ann-Kio Briggs said, where there is true democracy. What is democracy? Government of the people, for the people, by the people. What do the people of Rivers State want? I think that should be something that we should take into consideration.
You're absolutely correct. But let's go into other issues. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has accused the Sterling Oil Exploration and Energy Production Company of disobedience to Nigeria's local content laws, saying the company has over 10,000 Indians in its employ. I'll take that again. The company has over 10,000 Indians in its employ. That is, the company is employing over 10,000 Indians.
How many Nigerians are there? You know,
that's why it's an issue. The president of the association, Festus Osifo, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, threatened to withdraw the services of its members from every upstream operation unless government compels the company to obey available laws in the country. Osifo says that jobs meant for Nigerians have been outsourced to Indians, a situation that is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Do you know where this company is?
Exploration and Production Company is one company that has operated in Nigeria for quite a while. And we have observed consistently that over time that they have been bringing in all manner of people to work in Nigeria in contravention of our laws and in violation of our regulations. Sterling cannot be bigger than Nigeria. Sterling management cannot be bigger than Nigeria. We have said last week that as of today, we have over 10,000 Indians that are working in Sterling. And majority of these people, they are doing middle and low level jobs. These are jobs that Nigerians should do. These are jobs that are Today, we have Nigerians littering the streets. These are the jobs that they should be doing. But instead, we have Indians doing these jobs.
There you have it. They're saying that Sterling Oil has, of course, abused the expatriate quota system as provided for by Nigerian labor laws, and they have said that they will call for action. We're seeing the pushback against that. But you know, let me play devil's advocate. The devil's advocate here would be how some people will say, but this is the same thing we criticize when, for example, South Africa will say Nigerians are coming to take away all our jobs. So, in a way,
these aren't low. This is different, but I get your point. But it's very, very different. They're saying that the Labour leader there, Mr. Osifo, is saying these are mid and low-level jobs that Nigerians can do. So if you look at our labour laws, it says if you're going to have an expatriate quota, then it should be minimal, and you should be able to prove that no Nigerian is qualified or can fill in this job with the necessary expertise. But we have a situation in the oil and gas sector where so many jobs can be done with Nigerians. We have a situation, we have an unemployment crisis in the country, and then you're giving it to foreigners. It's not fair. They say charity should begin at home. You're geographically situated in Nigeria, you're registered in Nigeria, so it's only right you have.
So when Nigerians in the other parts of the world are complaining that, or when foreigners, for example, South Africans are complaining that Nigerians are taking their job, I hope that we can bring up.
I mean, the employers,
we will be able to understand that.
The employees, the Nigerians didn't employ themselves. They have value that they're given. So if they can prove that, you know, these Indians are adding value and there are no Nigerians that can do this job, then it's all well and good. And I think the Nigerian Immigration Service also needs to step in to address the situation. How do you give 10,000 pass employment work permit to Indians in a single company? What's the quota for the entire country in the first place? So
at the end of the day, I hope that this is a reminder to all of us. Everybody needs to fix their country.
Yes.
So that you fix your country, Nigeria will fix our country, so we're not going, quote unquote, going to other people's countries to take their jobs.
First.
And then when you're able to say that, oh, Indians are taking over their jobs, you're not in another country also trying to do the same to other citizens. But I rest my case there. That's all.
And Nigerians are business people. I mean, in other countries, they're buying and selling, they have restaurants, they're doing business. So are they taking anyone's job?
Well, the people in these other countries are arguing that you are taking their jobs.
So if I have a Nigerian restaurant selling pepper soup and they say,
that one is different. It's different. But then again, I'm just saying at the end of the day, what we're complaining about, we should be ready to accept it in another country when we're saying they shouldn't get a lot. And this is not me saying Nigerians shouldn't get jobs. Of course, I'm Nigerian and very in support of Nigerians getting as much jobs as we can. It's a really tough economy. But then we also need to consider the fact that when we go outside, we're still also hustling for their jobs, and the world is a global village. Let's share with you a recap of the conversations we've had and share what's coming up next. This morning, suspended Rivers Governor makes first appearance. Igbalaniyi Omoniyi brought us a report on this and how the Rivers State people are taking it. Explosion reportedly rocks an LNG facility in Rivers State. There have been disputed reports as to this, but we're hoping that we get further information. Pengassan raises alarm, accuses Sterling Oil of breaching the expatriate quota assigned to it, stating that they have over about 10,000 Indians. But let's share what's coming up next.
Coming up next on Breakfast Central this morning, Nigeria's inflation may drop to 15% by late 2025, says experts. Would also bring you the front pages of the newspapers. Remember, you could call in and share your contributions with us. And which way Nigeria will be looking at the Senate voice vote and other issues. So stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Starting the week this morning with us as we review the newspapers is public affairs analyst Dotun Ojan. Good morning. Thank you for lighting our studio with the sunshine that you brought in this bright orange.
Yes, very bright and lovely, like a diamond.
I love the fact that you love it. I'm a man of color. I like to just...
and it takes brave men to...
Yeah, it does.
I look forward to seeing more men wearing colors.
It's an expression of courage. And
I love it.
As long as you're not courageous, you will not be able to display your colors.
Okay, let's start with this day newspaper and see what the front pages are saying. Alarming level of out-of-school children worry experts. Over 20 million estimated. Educationists urge federal government states to establish more schools as way out of menace. Now, Calabar stands still as Unical honors Wike with doctorate degree in law. Congratulations to the FCT Minister.
FCT Minister is now Dr. Nyesom Wike.
Yes, and it's not just him.
Effective as from now on.
Yes, not just him. They also gave Akpabio's wife and some other people the doctorate of law.
Unical is just dishing out. Do you want a law?
A law doctorate.
You can
I'll throw shade about honorary doctorate degree later, but let's go through the because I just feel like now everybody and their mummies are getting honorary doctorate.
So why did they give Wike in the first place?
Well, I think it's for his contribution to the Nigerian judiciary and for the first lady of the Senate President's wife, her support for women, her contribution to women. Look at the irony.
Yeah, Mr. Wike did commission judges' quarters in Abuja, so I guess it's part of...
and I'm sure Dr. would have thoughts on that, but let me finish running through the papers. SEC vows to fish out capital market violators. Consumers' Rights Group tackles multi-choice over discriminatory pricing against Nigerian subscribers. And that's all on This Nigeria. Let's go to Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. 2027 hurdles mount as coalition leaders move to unveil mega party. We also have at the front page there, Onoyekan, to political leaders, check your abuse of powers. Let's hope they're listening. And assets of top 10 banks surged to record 219 trillion naira in 9 months, as the CBN governor. Still on the front page of the Tribune newspapers, KGB allegations, I will honor police invitation, says Senator Karimi. Serap sues Tinubu over unlawful suspension of Fubara and Rivers lawmakers. I mean, trust Serap to do that. OBJ laments failure of Onyon Dam to generate power after 48 years. And job loss looms as Apapa port barge operations decline. An NDLEA intercepts Indian lady with 72 parcels of heroin and chocolate.
Wow. So another reminder that you should be careful when you're receiving things on behalf of people. Final paper, Daily Trust. Rivers emergency rule, no quorum in Senate, Tambuwal orders say. Jonathan Soyinka, Wabara fault proclamation. Serap sues president, action taken to avert chaos, says presidency. Bandits kill 10 community guards and vigilantes in Zamfara. Abducted naval officer, 2 others rescued in Nasarawa forest. Pupils sit on bare floor, teachers on window in Abuja school. What a shame. Another explosion at gas facility in Rivers, even though this has been subject to controversy. Tinubu, Buhari, Barau governors mourn as Katsina governor's mother is buried. We are threatened with beheading for plucking mangoes, according to Borno students. Sanusi Bayero plan rival Salah Durbar in Kano. That's all.
Is that not a good thing? I mean, if you go to the Durbar that is closest to you, two for the price of one.
Okay, I'm trying to see which story we should start with. But let's talk about the unveiling of the mega party.
Yes.
Hurdles mount as coalition, leaders move to unveil mega party. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
One of the things I respect the sitting president of Nigeria for is for his ability to make sacrifice where necessary, political sacrifice where necessary. One of the things that he did when they were trying to form the APC in 2014 was the fact that he wanted to actually be the vice president. But there was also another faction of the NPDP And the NPDP were looking at the fact that if they had a Muslim ticket, there will not be place for their leader, who was Bukola Saraki, to be the Senate president. But the sitting president was able to make the sacrifice of, okay, let me bring somebody who will be the vice president, a Christian who will be the vice president, so that whatever conversation we were having at that point could pull through. The problem we're having presently, what we're having presently is a direct opposite of that. One, there's no rallying point. The majority of people you're seeing today that are coming together, and of course you know that the meeting of politics is also a meeting of what's it called? Of interest. Thank you, of interest. So as we're having it today, apart from the fact that there's no rallying point, there's also the skepticism as to whether the people are willing to sacrifice their ambition to allow the need for a mega party to pull through. As we are today now, and I'm sorry, I have to quickly apologize to perhaps the major opposition in Nigeria, which is the People's Democratic Party. It is looking as if that People's Democratic Party is dying. That's my own opinion, though, because you will have seen with the way, it's like for this long, PDP has no use to the art of opposition. So as it is today now, we have to rely on those political parties that you call small party to be able to lead an opposition. So if we are coming up with a mega political party, it's a suitable idea for the moment. Because one of the things that I feared, a man who knows politics well, one of the mistakes such people make is to do this winner takes it all, and they silence every other voice of opposition. And that's my fear about President Bola Tinubu. Unfortunately so, the people that we have seen today that are coming together to say that, oh, they want to form a mega party, if we check their interest, you see that one of them wants to be president, the other wants to be vice president, the other wants to be this and that.
And they put forward the good of the party or the good of Nigerians as opposed to their personal interest.
No, I think it's about personal interest, though the personal interest may actually come across, because what did Buhari actually bring to the table? It was also the interest that I want to be president. Yes. But the interest came at the right time, that Nigerians were looking out for another voice. Nigerians were looking out for a situation that will bail them out of situation. And whether the situation bailed them out of the situation then is a different thing entirely. Unfortunately, we're at a point now. I mean,
are we not at the same point? Nigerians are getting, if you go through, if you do a general vox pop of people, are they satisfied with the government? Are they satisfied with the state of the economy? Even though it's 2 years to elections, a lot can change in 2 years. But if we have elections today, don't you think a majority of Nigerians will say, look, we want somebody else to rule us?
Yeah. So the difference between 2014 and what we have now, and in reality, I think the situation has become tougher for the Nigerian people. The pocket has become drier. And the reality of the economy has become one that we have not experienced since after the structural adjustment program of 1986. So it's a tense situation. Unfortunately, imagine if Asiwaju Bola Tinubu had decamped to PDP in 2014. Imagine if Buhari had decamped to PDP in 2014. There will not be people to offer this kind of opposition. What we have now is that the majority of our people who are maybe credible enough or who have the following, who have the connection and the contact, are decamping in drove to APC, either directly or indirectly. They are either belonging to the party or doing the bidding of the party. But of course, we cannot just continue to throw...
By indirectly, are you shading the FCT minister?
No. The word is not shading. It's strategic on the part of the people in power. What strategy in politics? Pick the people who have head, quote unquote, among them. Make them fall in love with you. And by extension, you have killed them. Is it not worrisome that up to today, PDP cannot muster the courage to suspend the FCT minister? They cannot. They cannot.
Yeah, but let's be... don't you think these opposition parties, it's still early days, that are coming together, are being pragmatic and practical in the sense that, look, they feel the only way to defeat APC, because democracy is a game of numbers, is to, forget all our personal differences, and we might be referred to as strange bedfellows, but let's come together let's form that force, that number. And that's what APC did by merging the CPC and the ACN to form APC in 2014. Is that not the same thing these guys are trying to achieve with this mega party?
Okay, so let me throw a very simple question. And let's be a bit mathematical. In 2023, we saw that Atiku Abubakar gave fight, a reasonable fight. In 2023, we saw that Peter Obi gave a reasonable fight. But when you want to do the calculation, reasonably, it's not a constitutional, it's an unwritten law, we know that the power now is still in the South. So in your head, you are thinking that if we have a Southerner who gave a fight in 2023, if they bring him back under a mega umbrella, that maybe things going to happen. But politicians are not thinking the way you are thinking.
How do you know?
I know, because you cannot tell an Atiku Abubakar now not to contest in 2027.
I mean, looking at his age is not really on his side, and he might want to defer to Mr. Peter Obi and, back him up for 2027.
I don't want to speak with utmost.
I mean, since they came together in a press conference to say they are forming a mega party,
I don't want to speak with.
And I'm not speaking with all confidence.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility, since we are dealing in the realm of possibility.
Okay, so everything is about possibility. And how do you arrive at possibility? You look at your history. Since 1993, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has featured prominently in all the elections in Nigeria. And the greatest sacrifice we have to make now is what Asiwaju Bola Tinubu made in 2014. If they are going to see the light of day, it's about stepping backward. He's not going to, he's still looking very healthy.
Very fit.
Very fit. So the best thing he can do now is to step backward and allow somebody from the South who has perhaps the acceptance, quote unquote. For example, I have said it repeatedly, I'm not a fan of Obi.
Maybe not.
But as it is today, he seems to have the contact and the ability to be able to push whatever narrative that the people want to hear.
Right. Okay, we'll come back to it. We have some more time to talk about that. We'll come back to it, but I want us to move to another story. Let's talk about the out-of-school children. The Daily Nigeria paper reports that there's an estimated 20 million out-of-school children. Also, there was another paper, I think it was Daily Trust then reports, pupils sit on bare floor, teachers on windows in Abuja school. Are we really placing any premium on education? They are suggesting here that we need to establish more schools out of the, as a way out of this menace. And I know that you're very particular about education. So talk to us about your thoughts regarding where we are and really if there's any hope, because some years back, I know we kept saying 10 million. From 10 million, we moved to 13.5. From 13.5, now we're at 20 million. In another few years, if we don't take, take any drastic measures, we're going to be looking at 25 million. So how did we get here? How can we get out of where we are?
Okay, so I think our education philosophy is a bit faulty. And I started a program called Leadership for Students that I was going from school to school. And anytime I get back to my hotel, I always end my day with tears. And practically, because you just can't tell where the people are going from, how you interact with them in school. Not everybody will have the resource to send their kids to private school. And in fact, there's even a big question mark as to what the quality of private school. I see some of the Bs, 200,000, 300,000, and I get to teach their student leadership. And I'm seeing a huge gap between what the parents are paying and the reality of what the students are getting. So there's a general capacity collapse in our education system in Nigeria. And building more schools is not going to solve it. The first thing that will solve is for us to sit down and say, okay, what do we want to achieve with our education? If somebody goes through primary school, at the end of 6 years, where do we expect the person to be? Do we expect that if the person has a primary education and goes to learn maybe tailoring and all, that he will be able to present his case reasonably and acceptably? So first is to have an education focus, that this is where we want anybody that goes through our school system to be at the end of the day. Because we are molding, education is to mold destiny of people. And once it is faulty from the very genesis, it becomes practically impossible for you to do anything. As we speak now, there's no state in Nigeria. I say it again to you. I have been to 6 states teaching leadership, and there's no one state that I've been across the geopolitical zone that we don't have a situation of people sitting on window. There's no state I have been that we don't have shortage of chairs in the class. There's no state I have been that we don't have 1 or 2 schools where there are shortages of staff. So it's a general problem. And when you continue to complicate the issue by building more schools, you discover that you are not going to get out of it. First, the one we have. We must get to a point where government will sit and say, for this year, I am concentrating on education. Beyond the 27% budgetary allocation that the United Nations had called for, I am giving 40%. Let us encourage our people to come back to school. Then from there, when we encourage the community, when the class is better than the house, there's an encouragement for people to come. But when the class is worse than the house or the home, then there's a problem. In my community today, people live in dilapidated buildings, but their classes are even worse than the buildings they are coming from. So how do you want to encourage them to come? If I am facing heat in my house, and these are little things that people don't pay attention to. If I am under the attack, quote unquote, of heat in my house, and I know that if I come to school, I'm going to have a ceiling fan above my head, it's enough encouragement. You remember the school feeding program?
Yes.
The philosophy behind it is that if I am hungry in the house, I have hope at the end of the day that when I get to school, that I'm going to be fed. But do you know what happened to it? People stole the money. They will break small bread as if they want to break communion. Small bread like this, small loaf. They put steel inside. Those were what they were giving to the people. So there's the need for us to rejig our education system, to rejig our education philosophy, to rejig our education focus, and to rejig, at the end of the day, our educational syllabi.
Wow. I mean, too many things that need to be done for our education and even our culture. We talk about the Almajiri, for example, the Almajiri system in the north and how it may have impeded education, our cultural beliefs, and how there's so much that we need to, so many barriers we need to pull down. We had Dambello on our show sometime last week. Friday. And we talked about the fact that even with all that has been done, I don't know if you saw the video of the school he refurbished, and he said he did it with just 4 million naira. So imagine what he used 4 million naira, what he achieved in one school with 4 million naira. How much more we could have achieved?
Yes, there's from the very beginning, anything that has to do with government, there's a system, because I was one of the people who said there's no system in government. But later on I discovered that there was a system in government to stop development. So there's actually a system in government. For instance, we keep having this idea that if something belongs to government, it has to be more expensive. When I came into Lagos, and this is a very sad story, I said that I was not going to get an accommodation for myself. I'm not going to build a house or buy a house in Lagos until I build a school. So the community I went into, I wrote to the state government, Johnny Ambode, and that was one of the reasons why I was a bit very passionate about whatever that went wrong in the government. I wrote to the government and I said, I am building this school. Initially I didn't have money to build the school. I wanted to refurbish it. They said they were going to send their engineers to come and check. So they sent engineers to come and said, they told me that they built the school in 1976, that as a result of that, it has failed the test of whatever it is. So I went back to them and I said that, okay, since you said we cannot refurbish this, let's build something small. So I told them that this is what I wanted to do. They wrote back to me and said that no, that there's a standard. It has to be 3 classrooms. And I only had money to build 2 classrooms. Cut the long story short, at the point people were demanding money from me.
To
do good.
But is that not what we see when you want to do a project?
People were demanding, because in their head they were thinking, and it's very sad though, this thing we are just talking, in their head they were asking, where did you get the money? They thought somebody was actually giving money from the back. I said, no. It's my money. I just entered this community and I saw the situation and I told myself, I made a promise that I'm not going to build a house in this community until I build school. They frustrated it.
There are security implications to this, and it's a mess. If you drive around Lagos, the Lekki-Epe corridor, you see children that should be in school begging.
Freedom Way.
We've almost desensitized ourselves from it. There's no sense of urgency. Everybody's talking 2027. It's not a priority. And these children will, the environment is dangerous. They learn vices. They pick up all sorts of evils from society.
And they are also exposed to the risk of being hit, risk of being abused.
Yes.
So
why does it seem there's no sense of it? And I'm talking of an urban state like Lagos. Imagine
what's happening somewhere. Now, the most disheartening part of the whole thing is that those kids you see, 90%, I just want to be conservative with figure. I will have said 99% of them are on drugs. I saw them myself. I interacted with them. The money they are begging, major chunk of the money goes into feeding themselves, getting drug somehow. And they say that the street is no longer smiling. So it's not a place to leave our kids if we are building something reasonable for the future. And I want to say to the government cannot solve every problem. The essence of governance is to identify priority. One of the reasons why we keep going back and forth is that a government comes and say, I want to fix road, I want to do electricity, I want to do it, I want to do education. At the end of the day, they do nothing. Because the more allocation you allocate to several sectors, the more opportunity you have created for people to steal money. People steal money heavily. But if you concentrate your fund on, oh, I'm tackling these two sectors, education and electricity. If anybody comes after me, let them take the other one.
Then please, can we focus on governance also, like just the issues? It's shocking. This is not halfway through 2027 elections.
Yes.
Right? And
everything is about...
If somebody wakes up from the dead and listens to what's going on in Nigeria,
it's about 2027.
Election is in December.
It's next year.
Yes.
So we'll continue to have it this way as long as we have a principle where winners take all. For instance, if Asiwaju, there were some brilliant ideas that people that I identified during the election. Obi brought forth some brilliant idea. The SDP guy, Adebayo, brought forth some brilliant idea. The YPP guy, Ibrahim something, these were people that I listened to. And I was thinking in my head that there's going to be a roundtable after the election. That this idea that you have propounded, let's see how we're going to work together. So we're going to always have a tense political situation, tense political preparation, as long as it's about me. Once I become the president, yes. Yeah. Once it's about me, once I win, I must do the ideology of my party. And see, you see some of the ideologies, you see some of the things they put forward, and you're like, oh, did your reason go on holiday when you were thinking about all of these things? These are simple strategic solutions that anybody will have solved.
Action group since the 1960s. It's road, car, education, you know, just very basic things.
See, maybe we should close this with this. If you, there's a 21st century ailment now. All these things you see, the economic situation is not limited to Nigeria. It's a 21st century ailment. But if you try to cure it with a 19th century medication, the best you will get is a 20th century healing, which is what we are struggling with. People there are almost outdated. You see, and it's across board. I was citing the example of the Nigerian police the other day. There's nothing wrong about an average policeman. They go out of the country, they perform excellently. But again, if you continue to hold on to 20th century medication, you see a man with dread, and immediately what comes to your head is crime. In 21st century, you see a young boy sagging his trouser out there, and the first thing that comes to your mind is Yahoo boy. I work with a few young people, and I see that these are the people that are looking for a way to express their creativity. And the community is guarding them by the day. And that's what we do with our policy. We gang our policy all the time. There's nothing we didn't make noise. Because if you can think well, you will see the solution. There's nothing we did not say about removal of fuel subsidy. We said that this removal of fuel subsidy must be transparent to the point that an average man on the street must know the landing cost of fuel. But today we keep going backward and forward. Even the president, apologies to him, cannot say with utmost certainty that he knows the landing cost of petrol to today. Right. We are producing fuel. We have said this repeatedly. All other products that came out of it, what are we doing with them? These are some of the questions, and people keep decamping every day. We can offer leadership advice from any camp. Not that you encourage a ruling party that they are doing well by all of you decamping to it.
And at the end of the day, you ask these people who are decamping, what is the basis of decamping?
They are the ones spoiling the nation, no?
You know, because you're assumed, or it's assumed that you're joining a party because your individual political ideology is aligned with the ideology of the party. So if you're leaving this party, see that your ideology has changed or the party's ideology has changed. People, it just feels that, again,
people are decamping because they want political office.
Yes,
and they are putting serious pressure on the government because the government is confused. Go to all pastors, go to herbalists. You will see the prayer that politicians are taking there is to be appointed, and they're confusing everybody. Instead of you to stay out of power and advise.
On this note,
it's very annoying now.
Even the SNYs
are annoying.
Everybody's tired. Thank you very much, Dr. Ojo, for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Nigeria will win.
Nigeria will be great again. We'll come back to bring you Which Way Nigeria after this break.
Fellow Nigerians, what we witnessed in the National Assembly last week was not governance. It wasn't leadership. It's not democracy. It was pure theater. a carefully choreographed performance where our so-called lawmakers played their usual role, rubber stamping whatever the executive wants. No questions asked. The Nigerian constitution is clear. A state of emergency must be approved by a two-thirds majority in both chambers, 73 senators and 240 representatives voting on the record. The law demands transparency, accountability, and a clear record of where each legislature stands on such a critical decision. But what did we get instead? A rushed, stage-managed voice vote. No real debate, no scrutiny, no record of who said A or nay. Just a legislature nodding along like a puppet show. It's 2025, but our senators still settle key decisions by yelling like they're at a village square. Our Senate isn't outdated. It's just allergic to transparency. But are we really surprised? These are the same lawmakers who, instead of holding the executive accountable, turned the Senate chamber into a concert hall last year, singing the president's campaign anthem when it came to present the budget. I mean, there you have it. On your mandate, we shall stand. If they could sing for him, why wouldn't they blindly approve his every move? But make no mistake, this is bigger than Rivers State. It's about Nigeria's democracy being treated as an inconvenience. It's about the slow, deliberate erosion of separation of powers, as well as checks and balances. It's about people, it's about power being hoarded by a few while the people remain voiceless. And if we don't call it out now, what happens next? What other laws will be bent, broken, or ignored? How long before our democracy is reduced to a mere illusion? How long would our lives be decided by A or nay instead of sensible, intelligent debates over the impact of decisions and legislation? Good morning, Nigerians.
Economic analysts predict a steady decline in Nigeria's inflation rate, with projections placing it at 15% by the end of 2025. This prediction confirms President Tinubu's forecast in the 2025 budget, stating that inflation will decrease to 15% this year. Financial experts express confidence in this forecast, citing economic stability and a broader inflation basket that reduces reliance on fuel prices.
National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, reported a drop in inflation from 24.1% in January 2025 to 23.18% in February. The report attributed the decline in headline inflationary pressures to notable reductions in prices of general staples, amongst others. Where President Bola Tinubu reiterated his administration's commitment to reducing inflation from 34.6% to 15% by year-end. Analysts were cautious about the feasibility of this target. Inflation surged following the removal of petrol subsidies and exchange rate unification, leading to economic concerns. Now, join us this morning to discuss inflationary projections and the reality of Nigerians is financial expert and principal partner at Woodridge & Scott Consulting, Mr. Segun Sokrito. A warm welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good to see you, Benga. Thanks for having me. Good morning, everybody.
Now, Mr. Shokpito, just looking at the figures, this 15% drop in inflation by the end of this year, is this realistic or just wishful thinking?
It depends on where you want to come from. I mean, look, inflation just dropped from 34% to 24% magically, right? So anything is possible. So I don't know how else you want to achieve a further 10% drop in inflation before the end of the year. That will be pretty much magic. So what I'm saying is it's extremely unlikely unless some manipulation happens again. Because that's what we've seen. That's why we're at 24% now. There's been a manipulation of the numbers. And I think it's important that we call it as it is. If you look at what's been done to the CPI basket and to the methodology for calculating inflation, you find that we were basically working towards the answer. We've reduced the percentage of food in the food basket, the weight assigned to food products in the CPI basket by a whole 10%, when in reality, food spend on food by the average Nigerian on a monthly basis represents about 60% of their monthly spend, according to the MBS itself. So these manipulations, are damaging the credibility of our data, of the government's data agency, and it's not good for the economy. So in summary, unless there's some dramatic event, it's extremely unlikely that we would achieve 15% inflation, by the end of 2025.
When you say manipulations, are you also referring to the consumer price index and the rebates that occurred?
Yes, absolutely. I'm saying, the biggest manipulation of that number is changing the reference year to 2024. And I hear a lot of economists and experts just sort of double around the issue and, refusing to call it what it is. It is manipulation. Because what we've tried to do is to eliminate the strongest inflection points in the last 3 or 4 years that has brought us to where we are. So the inflation number we're looking at today has eliminated the impact of the petrol subsidy removal, has eliminated the impact of COVID, and the shutdown and the recession that we went into that came with a lot of inflationary pressures as well. And all of that has been taken out of the picture, and we're looking at inflation now from a prism of what's happened between last year and this year. That time frame is simply not going to tell you the real picture. And that's why we have a situation where we're now saying inflation is 24%, and it now looks as if it's not so unrealistic to achieve 15%. The truth is that inflation today in Nigeria is nowhere near 24%. In fact, even the 34% that we had before was not accurate, because the CPI, the components of the CPI basket, was grossly misrepresentative of the realities on ground. So unfortunately, we fixed that problem and then created a bigger problem by tampering with the number of numbers in the model.
I mean, Mr. Shokpito, what you're basically saying is we're shifting the goalposts. But let's talk about the facts on ground. Let's x-ray the policies of this administration. Are they hurting or are they helping? The Tinubu administration has introduced several economic policies to curb inflation. What would you say has been the most effective, and which ones do you think still need more work?
So I think it's also important to say that, as it stands today, prices have stabilized. So if you ignore the manipulation, if you ignore the changing of the reference year, the truth is prices are no longer rising as quickly as they were before. And I'm sure that even you guys, would attest to that. If you go to the market today, price of rice, a bag of rice is probably about the same as it was 6 months ago. In fact, the price of PMS has actually come down by almost 300 naira. So inflation is moderating. My challenge is that the number that we're brandishing around it is not a true representation of where we are. So if we had not done this tampering, we would have had inflation maybe trending around 30% now. which would have been a more realistic reflection of the truth. It still wouldn't have been accurate, but at least would have been closer to the truth. In terms of the policies of the administration, look, what this administration has focused on is fiscal balance, is the fiscal structure of the economy. And unfortunately, that's not the total picture. What happens within the economy does not depend only on whether we're fiscally responsible and balanced or not. There's actually the real issues that we should be focusing on should be the productivity of Nigerians and productivity of the economy. Productive activities that would drive growth is what we should have been focusing on. So if you look at the attempts to fix the fiscal issues, you could say that it has worked, that subsidy removal has resulted in bigger revenues for government. But where is the effect and the impact of that on Nigerians? Where's the money? Where's all the savings?
And that's the mindset that, we hear a number of Nigerians saying, regardless of the numbers, we're still feeling the pinch of the
cost
prices
of living
of goods and services. Segun Soputon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We will have to wrap up the conversation and, quite frankly, the show at this moment. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you. And this is where we end today's show. Thank you for joining us to start the week. We hope you'll be back again same time tomorrow. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Bora. Thanks for being a part of this broadcast. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.